You know that feeling, right? You drive past a huge construction site, and nothing's happening. It's been stalled for months. Or you hear about some big, hyped-up new gadget, and then it just vanishes. Well, these aren't just random stories. They're symptoms of a massive issue. So today, we're going to break down the surprisingly common reasons why so many projects fail.
So what's really going on here? Why do so many of these big projects, everything from a new park in your town to a massive global enterprise, just seem to stumble and fall apart? It's a question that costs companies, and us, taxpayers, billions upon billions every year. And here's the thing, it's not bad luck, not at all. It's a pattern.
But here's the good news. This isn't just random chaos. I know, project failure can look like a totally tangled mess, but it can be untangled. The truth is, these failures almost always trace back to a few key problems. And once you can spot those problems, well, you're already halfway to finding the solution. Okay, so let's get into the first big one. And honestly, this is probably the most critical mistake, because it happens right at the very beginning. We're talking before a single dollar is spent or a single plan is drawn. It's a failure of what we call the strategic assessment. So what on earth does that mean? It sounds fancy, but it all boils down to one incredibly important question. Are we building something people actually need? It's all about checking, verifying that this huge project is based on a real, proven demand and not just, someone's gut feeling or a cool idea they had in a meeting.
And this visual just says it all, doesn't it? A project that's built on a real, validated need has a rock-solid foundation. But one that's built on a flawed assumption, that's like trying to build a skyscraper on sand. It is absolutely destined to collapse, probably before you even get close to finishing.
All right, but let's say you've got a great initial idea. You're in the clear, right? Well, not so fast. A project can still fall apart completely. And the next major place this happens is in the design phase. This is where the what and the how get defined, or all too often, they don't. It's a really simple concept when you think about it. A vague blueprint guarantees a chaotic build. I mean, if your plans are just a mess of contradictions and missing information, what do you expect is going to happen when people actually try to execute on it? Confusion on paper will inevitably become total chaos on the ground, every time. So the solution here is a truly comprehensive design. And we're not just talking about making things look pretty. This is about the nitty-gritty details that are so easy to overlook. We're talking a detailed execution plan, a timeline that's actually realistic, making sure all the complex systems are planned together from day one, and of course, defining exactly who is responsible for what. So let's recap. You've got a validated need. You've got a solid design. You're safe now, right? Not yet, because projects are ultimately run by people, which brings us to the third major point of failure, the purely human element of contracts and relationships. This quote really just hits the nail on the head. The old-school approach of using contracts as weapons, to play games or to shift blame onto somebody else, that is a direct path to failure. It just creates this horrible atmosphere of distrust right from the very beginning.
And this chart shows you exactly what that looks like. It's a huge problem called unbalanced risk. Just look at this. The owner is carrying almost no risk. The contractor, on the other hand, is saddled with pretty much all of it. This isn't a partnership, it's a setup. And when a problem inevitably hits, this kind of imbalance guarantees that everyone's going to get defensive and start pointing fingers instead of actually working together to solve it.
So the main takeaway here is this. Unfair, unbalanced contracts are basically designed to create conflict. They're not designed for collaboration. They set up this adversarial you versus me relationship from day one, and that makes it nearly impossible to solve problems together when they pop up. So, we've talked about flawed strategy, vague designs, unfair contracts, all these different paths to failure. It can seem like a really complex web of problems, right? But what's fascinating is that they all point toward a single, powerful solution, and it's captured perfectly in this quote. And that key is simply good management. It's the thread that ties all of these different pieces together. And we're not talking about one heroic manager who saves the day. No, this is about building an entire system of leadership and organization that actively prevents these failures from ever happening in the first place. So what does good management actually look like in practice? Well, you can think of it as being built on 4 key pillars. You have clear, realistic timelines to stop those design gaps. You have clearly defined roles, so there's absolutely no confusion.
You invest in training to keep your team sharp, and, crucially, you insist on fair and transparent contracts that build trust, not conflict. Ultimately, good management is the central gear that drives everything else. It's not one single action you take, it's the entire operating system for the project. It's the system that ensures the strategy, the design, the contracts, and the people are all moving in the same direction, all working toward the same goal.
So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. When a project really goes off the rails, is the root cause actually in the blueprints and the contracts, or are those things just symptoms of a much deeper problem, a broken work culture? Something to chew on. Thanks for watching.